Creatine is the most researched, most proven supplement in the world. It genuinely works. And yet millions of people take it every single day and get almost nothing out of it. Not because the creatine is fake, because of how they're taking it. The dose, the timing, the loading myth, the version they bought, and the one mistake that makes people quit right before it starts working. I went through the actual research, the dosing studies, the saturation timelines, the meta-analyses. By the end of this video, you'll know the 5 reasons your creatine might be doing nothing and exactly how to fix each one. Let's go. Here's the strange thing about creatine. The science on whether it works is settled. A 2003 meta-analysis published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research analyzed 96 studies and found creatine supplementation increased maximum strength by about 8% and repetition performance by about 14% versus placebo. That's real, measurable, repeatable. This is not one of those supplements where the evidence is shaky. So, if the supplement works this reliably in studies, why do so many people swear it did nothing for them? Because a supplement working in a controlled study, where dose and consistency are enforced, is completely different from how people actually take it at home. In the real world, people underdose it, take it inconsistently, quit too early, buy the wrong form, or believe myths that make them use it wrong. The creatine isn't the problem. The protocol is. And every single one of these mistakes is fixable in about 10 seconds once you know it. Mistake number 2 is the one almost everyone believes. It's a rule you've probably been told is essential, and the research says it's completely optional. Stay for the fix at the end, because there's one habit that quietly wastes more creatine than all the others combined. Number 5, you're simply not taking enough. The research-backed maintenance dose is 3 to 5 grams per day. 5 is the number most studies use. And here's where people go wrong. They take a supplement that has creatine as one ingredient among many, such as a pre-workout, a protein blend, or an all-in-one. They see creatine on the label and assume they're covered. They're usually not. A lot of blends contain 1 or 2 grams of creatine, sometimes less. That's a fraction of the effective dose. You feel like you're taking creatine, but your muscles never actually reach saturation, the point where they are holding as much creatine as they can. And saturation is the entire mechanism. Below it, you get a fraction of the benefit or none at all. The fix. Take 5 grams of standalone creatine monohydrate daily, measured. Not some creatine that's in your pre-workout. 5 grams, on its own, every day. If you're relying on a blend, check the actual gram count on the label, and it's almost always too low. Number 4, and this is the one that makes people give up right before it works. You quit too early. Here's the timeline the research actually shows. If you take a standard 3 to 5 grams per day, it takes about 28 days, 4 weeks, for your muscles to fully saturate with creatine. That's when the performance benefits show up. The extra rep, the better recovery, the fuller muscles. But think about how people actually use supplements. They try creatine for a week, maybe 2. They don't feel a dramatic difference. They conclude creatine doesn't work for me and stop. They quit on day 10 of a 28-day process. They were less than halfway to the thing they were waiting for. A study on low-dose creatine without a loading phase showed strength and endurance improvements appearing over 35 days of consistent supplementation, not in the first week. The benefit is real, but it's on a 4-week clock. The fix. Commit to a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks of daily creatine before you judge it, including rest days, which brings us to a mistake so common it gets its own number. Number 3, you only take it on workout days. This is one of the most common creatine mistakes, and the logic feels reasonable. I take it for training, so I take it on training days. But that misunderstands how creatine works entirely. Creatine works through saturation, keeping your muscle stores topped up all the time, so the fuel is there whenever you train. It's not a pre-workout stimulant you feel acutely. It's a reservoir you're keeping full. If you skip your rest days, your levels start to drift back down, and you never maintain the saturation that produces the benefit. The timing within the day barely matters. The research is clear that consistency matters far more than whether you take it before or after training, morning or night. There's a slight suggestion in some studies that post-workout might have a tiny edge, but it's minor. What matters is every single day, including the days you don't train. The fix: take it daily, no exceptions, rest days included. Attach it to a habit you never skip, your morning coffee, brushing your teeth so you don't miss. Number 2. The rule almost everyone believes is mandatory, and the research says is completely optional: the loading phase. You have heard it. To start creatine, you have to load. Take 20 to 25 grams a day, split into 4 doses for the first 5 to 7 days to saturate fast. A lot of people find this intimidating or annoying. The high doses upset their stomach, and some quit before they even start because loading sounds like a hassle. Here's what the research actually shows. A 1996 study by Hultman compared 2 groups. One loaded with 20 grams a day, then maintained. The other just took a steady low dose from the start with no loading. After 28 days, both groups had the exact same level of muscle creatine saturation. Same endpoint. The loaders just got there faster. A 2021 review in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition confirmed it. Loading is effective for rapid saturation, but it is not necessary. So, loading is not wrong. If you want the benefits 3 weeks sooner, it works. But it's optional. And believing it's mandatory makes people either quit before starting or take 20 grams on an empty stomach and get the bloating and gastrointestinal distress that creatine is unfairly blamed for. The fix: you can skip loading entirely. Just take 5 grams a day and you will reach the identical saturation in about 4 weeks with none of the stomach issues. Simpler and exactly as effective long term. And number 1, 2 things here, because they're the biggest sources of wasted money and wasted creatine. First, the form. If you're taking one of the fancy advanced versions, creatine, HCl, ethyl ester, buffered, liquid creatine, you may be getting less than you think. Creatine monohydrate is the most researched form, has the highest percentage of actual creatine by weight, and is the one that all those strength studies were done on. The exotic forms are sold at a premium on the promise of better absorption, but the evidence that they outperform plain monohydrate is thin to non-existent. Liquid creatine is the worst offender. Creatine slowly degrades into creatinine, a useless waste product when it sits in liquid for a long time. A pre-made liquid creatine may be partially degraded before you even open it. The fix: buy plain creatine monohydrate. It's the most studied, the most effective, and usually the cheapest. Every exotic form is a worse ratio at a higher price. Second, let me kill a myth that makes people paranoid. The idea that mixing creatine with coffee or hot drinks destroys it. This one's mostly wrong. The caffeine cancels out creatine claim came from a single small study in the mid-90s, and the modern research, including a 2017 trial in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research, found no meaningful interference. Caffeine and creatine work through different pathways, and the heat of a normal cup of coffee is nowhere near hot enough to break creatine down. Degradation to creatinine only happens when it sits in liquid for many hours, not the few minutes it takes to drink your coffee. If anything, warm liquid dissolves creatine better than ice-cold water, where it clumps and sits gritty at the bottom. And undissolved creatine in the bottom of your glass is creatine you never actually took. The fix: mix your 5 grams in whatever you'll actually drink consistently. Water, coffee, a shake. The best creatine protocol is the one you don't skip. Consistency beats optimization every time. So here's the entire fix in one protocol, the thing that quietly wastes more creatine than any single mistake, and the 10-second routine that solves all 5 at once. The single biggest creatine killer isn't dose or form or timing. It's inconsistency. Skipping days. Starting and stopping. Taking it for 2 weeks. Quitting. Restarting a month later. Every mistake in this video traces back to the same root. Creatine only works when your muscles stay saturated, and saturation only happens with daily, consistent intake over weeks. The person who takes a perfectly optimized dose 3 times a week gets worse results than the person who takes a good enough dose every single day. So stop optimizing and start being consistent. That's the whole game. Here's the entire research-backed protocol. 1. 5 grams of plain creatine monohydrate. Not a blend, not an exotic form. Standalone monohydrate. 2. Every single day, including rest days. Timing within the day doesn't matter, consistency does. 3. Skip the loading phase unless you specifically want faster results. 5 grams daily reaches the same saturation in about 4 weeks. 4. Give it a minimum of 4 to 6 weeks before you judge whether it's working. You're filling a reservoir, not flipping a switch. 5. Mix it in whatever you'll actually drink consistently. Coffee is fine. Warm is fine. The myth that heat or caffeine ruins it is mostly false. One honest note, because this channel doesn't oversell, about 20 to 30% of people are genuine non-responders. Their baseline creatine levels are already high, often because they eat a lot of red meat and fish, or their muscle fiber type is already saturated. If you've done everything in this video correctly for 6 weeks and truly see nothing, you might be in that group, and that's biology, not a mistake. But the vast majority of people who think creatine did nothing for me simply weren't doing these 5 things. Fix the protocol first before you conclude you're a non-responder. Quick recap. Creatine works. That part is settled science. But it does nothing if you underdose it, quit before 4 weeks, skip rest days, waste money on exotic forms, or take it inconsistently. The fix: 5 grams of plain monohydrate every day for at least a month, mixed into whatever you'll actually drink. Everything in this video is from the actual research, the Hultman loading study, the 2021 review, the branch meta-analysis. All linked below. Read it yourself.